Okay, so I'm going to tell you everything that I know that is wrong with EVs, everything that is a drawback or a shortcoming, and I'm going to try not to leave anything out. You can tell me in the comments if I miss something. EVs tend to weigh about 500 pounds more than their gas equivalent, so they can be a little harder on the roads. EVs are quite quiet, so it's possible that an EV might slide up behind someone without them noticing and either scare pedestrians, I've done that, or put them at risk of stepping out into traffic when they don't know there's a car there. So that's a drawback. EVs, at least in North America right now, purchase prices are higher than gas car prices. And so part of that is because of the lack of competition. We don't have as many models and as many companies producing EVs as we do gas cars, but that's another factor, higher. You have to get a charger. Basically, that's a disadvantage if you don't want to modify your house or if you live in an apartment. To truly enjoy the EV experience, you've got to get charging. And that means purchasing a charger. It can go anywhere from $200 to $1,000. I guess you could pay more if you want. And you're going to need an electrician to modify your house's electrical. So that's going to be, somebody coming to your house and cutting some holes in the wall and adjusting things. $700, it's probably reasonable, but maybe your house isn't up to it. Maybe you also have to upgrade your electrical panel. Maybe that's like another, electricians, man, $2,000? Who knows? So that could be a lot of additional expense. A lot of times the technology in the EVs is all kind of wrapped up. You're not going to work on this EV. You're not going to be able to tweak it yourself. So if you like working on cars, forget it. You're not going to be working on this car. I mean, you can change the tires and you can add the windshield washer fluid, but you're not going to be modifying this car. So if you're an enthusiast that way, it's not going to work for you. Is going to degrade somewhat. That the battery that you buy on day one will have more performance than the battery that you have 5 years later, 10 years later. Now the degradation might be lower than some people think, but still it's going to be lower. EVs lose some of their capacity temporarily in the wintertime. When it's cold, you're not going to be able to go quite so far. Not only are you using some of that battery power for heating yourself so you don't get cold in the car and heating that battery and keeping the motors and things at the right temperature for operating, but the batteries themselves are just not as efficient. Even though EVs are about 60 times less likely to catch fire than a gas car, and I know that sounds like a backwards weakness. Here's the kicker. When they do catch fire, holy crow. Good luck putting that thing out. Lots of times fire departments extinguish the flame only to have it reignite later. There's so much power and energy in those batteries. Once they're cooking, they're hard to stop. EVs have not yet quite got their act together. It's getting better, but you have to find a charger that's going to fit your car. So if you're going on a holiday or something like that, you have to know where those chargers are. So you got to have an app on your phone to tell you where you can charge, or in your navigation if it has that. And you're going to show up and they're going to charge you a certain amount per kilowatt hour. So certain places charge more than other places. It's not super consistent. The competition, there aren't big prices posted on signs like you have with gas. So you show up and maybe you're paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour, or 18 or 52 or $1. So you do have to figure out what you're going to be paying and where you're going to charge, finding those chargers. And not all areas have chargers. So if you get into like rural Alberta, like Rocky Mountain House, sure, there's one at the GM dealership, but you want to go to the GM dealership every time you need a charge? If they're open, and if it's not broken. I mean, some of these chargers have really bad reliability. I mean, Tesla's king. Tesla's reliability is really, really good, really solid, very dependable, and their chargers are kind of everywhere. But again, you get into the rural places, you don't necessarily have these chargers. So they're along major highways, but if you're not along a major highway, well, what's the point of that? So tricky to find those chargers. Additionally, chargers are a real pain in the neck in that there are different networks. So there's like Electrify America, there's Tesla, there's the Mercedes chargers, there's Petrocan, there's Shell Recharge, there's so many different charger networks. Each of them wants you to have like a card to activate the charger or a app to activate the charger. Some of them want you to have an account with money on it to activate the charger. That becomes a little bit of a pain. Can you imagine if you needed different money for all the different gas stations you might encounter? That's just silly. I mean, they're going to get there. There's Charge Hub and there's kind of pay as you go and some stuff like that. But it is not sorted out yet. And this is the Achilles heel of electric vehicles right now. If you're going to be traveling long distances, you got to know where to go. And you got this hassle with all these apps and chargers. Hope your phone doesn't die because you need that app, right? Too bad you can't charge your phone at those chargers. So that's a big hassle. Another one is compatibility. So if you bought a Nissan and it has the Japanese standard plug, well, good luck. You're not going to find too many of those. CCS has been the North American standard, and now the North American charging standard, the old Tesla, they opened it up, so everybody's going that way because it's a better plug. So J1772, like you see at your... I know, am I boring you with all the numbers? Yeah, exactly. There's a few different standards. That's for charging at home, and that's for, topping up at the library or the restaurant. It's not a fast charge, right? 1772, very compatible. So that's a real pain in the neck. What else is a weakness? Oh yeah, if you live in an apartment, what are the chances that your apartment's thinking like, yeah, we want to provide chargers for the people who live here? Some do, but many don't, especially older apartments, or, you got like a landlord who's just like doing the bare minimum. You're not going to get chargers out of those guys. And sure, there's advocacy tools and there's public policy work that can be done to try and change this eventually, but it's not changed today. So that's a pain in the neck. Oh yeah, so EVs are all about efficiency. So you've got harder tires because you want to, get as much mileage as possible. So you're going to have a rougher ride. Typically speaking, it's not going to be like you're rolling down the road on a Cadillac. It's going to be like, you're bumping along, feeling every bump in the road. And that could be a drawback if you don't like, more firm ride. If you buy a car for just a couple of years and then you sell it and you're hoping to keep your value so that you can buy another car and so on, EVs might not work the way you think they work. EV resale value is quite low. The depreciation is quite high. There's two reasons for that. One is that the price of batteries is dropping and dropping and dropping so fast that the new EVs are actually costing less than the old EVs. And that sounds bizarre, but that's the way it is. There's a rapidly falling price and you bought the first one. Well, guess what? You overpaid. Some people knew that and they're okay with that. So that's the first reason for that. The second reason for that is the market right now for people who want to buy an EV isn't as big as the market for people who want to buy a gas car. And so you might have like 4 out of 4 people would buy a gas car, or 3 out of 4 would buy a gas car, but only 1 out of 4 would buy an EV. And so those two things working together, depreciation isn't good. What does that mean? Well, if you buy a car and just drive it forever till it doesn't work anymore, you're going to be fine with an EV. You're going to be quite happy. Who cares about depreciation? It's not an investment, for crying out loud. It's a tool to get you from place to place. But if you are thinking like, oh, I want it to keep its value so I can sell it later, yeah, EVs might not be for you. Let's talk about range anxiety. So let's say you're cheap and you buy an affordable EV instead of an expensive EV with lots of range. You might feel the pinch. You might be like, it's 300 kilometers between this location and that location. Am I going to make it? Well, I don't know. Is it winter time? Are you driving uphill? You carrying a bunch of stuff in the car? You got the heater on? You're running the AC? Yeah, you might start to think about those things in a way you typically wouldn't in a gas car because they're just so wasteful and 75% of their energy just goes to heat waste anyways. But in an EV, yeah, you're kind of penny pinching, right? So you might worry about range anxiety. let's say you drive it all day and you come home and you forget to plug it in. You get up in the morning and do you have enough charge to get to work? Yeah. If you're buying yourself a Tesla or something with a decent amount of battery capacity, it's not going to be a problem. And the charging's pretty fast anyways. If you had to stop somewhere, it'd be like 12 minutes. But if you're buying yourself like a old Nissan Leaf because you're just trying to get into the market, you're going to have to think about that. Range anxiety becomes real. Can it be done? Absolutely. Is it going to be a walk in the park? No, you're going to have to think about it. I guess this is a real one because I've heard people complain about it, but you're not going to get cool engine noises out of your EV. Sorry. In fact, EVs are so quiet, the Government of Canada mandates that under 30 kilometers an hour, they actually have to play a sound to warn pedestrians. So if you like engine noises and, performance sounds, whatever that is, then you're out of luck. EVs are not the thing for you. And if you hate things that sound futuristic, like spaceships and, making warbling noises as they go along, sorry. That could be a drawback too. I'm doing my best to come up with every negative I can think of for EVs. Let me see. I might have one or two more. Yeah, okay. So let's say you bought a non-Tesla and you go to a Tesla charger. Often the cables aren't long enough on those chargers, so you end up parking across two spots. And then people get angry because you're taking up two spots. But how else were you supposed to charge because the charger cable didn't reach? It wasn't long enough. So lack of foresight on some of those things. There's all these little rules that the community has come up with to make charging better for people. Like typically you don't charge to 100% at a public charger. You charge to 80 and you move on. That's just kind of a normal rule. And it's because of how charging works, and it's about courtesy to other people. There's a fair amount of that in the community. I guess once everybody gets it, it'll kind of go to hell in a handbasket. But at this point in time, you got people really kind of looking out for each other. Wait, that's starting to sound like a positive. Sorry. So there's little rules. Like if you have a Tesla and you go to a Tesla charger and there's lots of spots open, don't park next to someone. Why? Because often the charger shares power with the next charger. And so if you park next to it, you just cut that guy's power in half as soon as you plug in. But if you park every second stall, and look for it, you're going to notice it now when you go and look at Tesla chargers. You'll see everybody like spaced out like every two spots. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Everybody's going to get the full power and charge really, really fast. Some chargers, like the ones that On the Run with Chevron, they don't actually have the capacity to charge the cars fast enough. So they rely on a battery system. When nobody's there, it's charging up that battery. You plug it in, it's charging you and pulling from that battery. But then once that battery's empty, it says it's in like power conservation mode or something schmoozy like that. Yeah, it's just not able to charge you fast enough. So that's really irritating. Charging is weird. You typically want to charge when it's low because those batteries take the power really fast. And not all batteries need to be babied like this, but a good number of the lithium ones do. So that's why Tesla will auto set. I'm saying Tesla a lot. I've got one, and they actually do a really good job of that. Tesla auto sets the charge. Like once you get to 80%, it just, you have to override that to charge higher. And that's intentional to make your battery last as long as it possibly can. So you kind of don't have to worry about that, but it's one more thing to think about. Yeah, and there's all these like move your car as soon as you're done charging kind of etiquette rules that people might not know about that could be a little daunting. You never unplug somebody else's car. Never. Even if they're done charging, don't touch other people's cars. But not everybody knows that. And so you do have people that are like, well, I'm going to unplug your car. I want to charge my car. You're not here. So yeah, you're going to run into humans. Sorry about that. Okay, I think I better wrap this up. I'm starting to ramble. Or maybe that started a long time ago, but that's everything I can think of that's wrong with EVs. If you have other ideas about shortcomings for EVs or you want people to be informed, go ahead, put it in the comments. If you think some of the things I mentioned aren't really a drawback and you have some other ideas or you want to challenge what I'm saying, hey, comments are there for you. Have fun.